Hello, I'm Kristen McAllister, and welcome to Cerius Leadership. Whether you are growing your business, growing your career, or quite possibly both, thank you for listening. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest hidden problems organizations are facing, and that's the disillusioned, disengaged employees with a branding expert and really go-to-market specialist, Michael LaForte. Michael, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, Michael, the best way I can think to describe your background is that you're a brand marketer turned workforce training founder. The two 10 years ago would have been unheard of, but nowadays I think those two are almost becoming one, and you're just so passionate about equipping the modern workers. You know, you had a successful career of brand marketing in New York. What inspired your transition to really supporting the workforce with the tools they need?
Well, thanks for giving me a chance to share a little bit about this topic, which is really important to me. In my career working with learning management systems, some of the biggest names who we will not call out, we will not throw a dart at, we saw for decades millions of dollars being spent, years being spent implementing systems and solutions for the workforce that just never returned the investment, let's just
Mhm.
say. And it stuck in my craw for years. It stuck in the craws of my partners for years, and always in the back of our minds as technologists, as brand marketers, and people who have worked together, our founding team in this particular product area has been together a long time. We always knew that there could be something better, and luckily, technology keeps on trucking, and the needs of the workforce become more dire, and
Mhm.
they've come together to really help the modern, distracted, deskless, and disengaged learner succeed in their job, excel in their careers in ways that are more familiar to them than the lengthy, top-down, rigid, monotone, tone deaf, expensive solutions that have just been in place a long time. The tech is old and it's time for a change.
My question there is you said it's the technology or the solution as a whole has failed the workforce. Is that from the technology itself, from the implementation, because we know what it goes through, they just couldn't find the champions? Is it the process? Where do you think that any one failure point, or was it just the entire approach and thought process?
Great questions to pick it apart because it is a lot of those different things. But we'll start at the top. And the issue is that it's often just that rigid top-down approach to kind of cram someone in a C-suite's opinion on how people should learn down the throats of everyone in the organization is stone deaf. We don't come into the workforce with the same backgrounds. Not everyone is a 4-year college graduate, and not everyone has a extended degree or a graduate degree. And the entire organization does not learn the same way. So, how can we choose this kind of one boring page turner solution for everyone? It doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense then. It doesn't make sense now. And so there was a phrase when we started working in workforce about 4 years ago. There was a very popular phrase, democratizing and decentralizing. People were democratizing and decentralizing investing, democratizing and decentralizing everything. But to use it again, democratizing and decentralizing workforce learning and workforce training means giving people in the rank and file a voice. This is how I want to learn. This is how I learn. This is how we should learn, and making more of a learning ecosystem. So I think the best way to describe the failures was rigid, top down, one way, my way or the highway
Mhm.
from the C suite. And the answer is no, bottom up, middle out, and just giving flexibility. Is there always going to be a page turner? Yes. But can't we think of better ways to train and inspire the workforce? Yes, we can.
I'm fascinated because I'm seeing a pattern in this, and I'm hearing it from HR leaders across organizations saying the new way is customization. It is no longer one size fits all. We've got to have a buffet of benefit packages, and they get to pick and choose because each individual kind of wants to do it their way or wants we might see it as, oh, they're just being difficult. You're saying, no, this is just what gets them up in the morning, is that they've got a choice in it.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a choice in it. It makes it personal to them. I mean, listen, who do we spend the most time with? Do we spend the most time with our families? We don't. So if
Hmm.
we are going to be busting our tails to make a living or to help a single bottom line business, then we should be able to experience that through the lens that's important to us. As I often say, we spend how much time? I know you told me to put my phone down. I'll pick it up as a
That's
prop.
okay.
We spend how much time of our day looking at short videos?
Yep.
That's a behavior that we have now across the board adopted, no matter how old you are. So why not train people the same way? Why not give them short videos and not 3 hour conferences, right? It's just not the way the modern learner, the modern workforce wants to engage with the world. And similarly to your point about HR leaders, they want to customize their experience. They want to know what's important to them. They don't want to know what's important to everyone. Like, how do I do well with my job? And it's not selfish, it's personalized, it's customized.
Hmm.
With the technology available to us today, we can deliver that and we can make everybody feel good in their jobs.
I want to make the connection between, we talk about kind of disillusioned and disengaged workforce, and because they're not being trained, they're not learning in a way that works for them. Help me make the connection between, um, is that a fundamental need or want of the workforce? I know we have 5 generations in the workforce, so we'll address the most plentiful workforce that's out there as to, is used to be, well, they just want more pay. They want better benefits. And I'm hearing you say they want to learn.
They want to learn. They want to be successful where they are, and they know, unlike even I'm 53 years old, even and certainly my brothers and sisters who are a little older, and my parents, um, we know we're not going to have one job. So you have to be good at your job to get another one. You have to be successful to move on. And so you have to do well. You have to lean in. You have to show, hey, I really moved the needle at this position where I was. No, I was only there for a year or two, no big deal, 6 months. But I was able to say, this is how I succeeded. And here's some metrics that shows that I was successful in my job. And so there is a certain sense of feeling supported, and the
Hmm.
statistics will show you. You mentioned HR. SHRM has amazing statistics that says if you invest a minimal amount into a learner within an organization, they're going to stay with you longer. They're going to try harder. They're going to do their best. But if you leave someone out to drift or give them their tools and say, best of luck with that, they're not going to stick around. And the pain of that churn or that turnover is not just at the kitchen table where a mom or a dad has to say, oh, I have to find a new job. The pain to the businesses is crippling. It's multiple times their salary to replace them. So why not just invest in technology that's customized, that's personalized to your point, that's affordable, that resonates with a modern learner, that allows the business to succeed and the employee to feel wanted, warranted, and a phrase I love, which is valued versus
Hmm.
valuable. And that's just a big cultural shift
Wow.
that's happened in the workforce in the last, handful of years.
You mentioned I want to go back there just a little bit as you talked about not just the customization, but the feeling supported and, kind of growing and learning and just investing a little bit. You mentioned the Sherm article.
Yeah.
What's a little bit? Because as a small business versus a multi-billion dollar business, that little bit can be a very big difference. It's a pretty nominal amount per employee per year, from my understanding.
Yeah, it could be as little as $1,500 per employee per year. And that will keep that employee in that seat for an extra 2, 3 years. So it's really asked and answered. That's giving the employee what they need to with the tools that they need to be successful. There was a really cool, at one point I worked for an alphabet company, and there was this, and this is 10 years ago. And there was this amazing thing that they did. Of course, alphabet companies can afford to do this, but they had something called communities of practice. And communities of practice was a meeting that took place voluntarily with people from different work groups within this particular letter of the alphabet, where the workforce got together, employees got together, and just shared best practices from each of their domains. And the cross domain expertise that was shared and lift that took place from people in like totally different parts of the business being like, whoa, and there I can use that in my business. And I can remember senior leaders, walking by during communities of practice because it was during work hours,
Yeah.
looking in and like, but guess what was happening? People were communicating, collaborating, lifting, sharing, supporting. Oh, I used to do that. Have you tried this? This is a learning ecosystem. Building a learning ecosystem within an organization will lift the business and will lift the employees.
It's that sharing in those communities internally. I don't know if they've been traditionally seen as part of learning and development programs, but that cross training, that development, I've heard stories come out of those that individuals who were underperforming in one department or one role, through that sharing and that cross pollination, they realized they weren't performing because they hated their role. And when they heard about customer service and what customer service is doing, they got so excited about it and realized I have no business being in accounting. I'm a customer service or customer success person at heart. There is a misfit here. There's a mismatch, and they realized it on their own.
Yeah, it's neat to provide that access, and even for the platform that we provide, in most cases it will be the L&D professional or the leader
Mhm.
of that group assigning the particular learner a path or what we call a learning journey. But there are very innovative organizations that we're working with, companies, businesses that we're working with that will give the learner access to see other content. And why is that? To be able to level up, cross over, or say, "Whoa, no, I like you." To your point, I actually think I would like customer service. I do like people, and I don't like being in my cube farm. So how do I get over there? And so again, it's community, and it community is a word that is overplayed in a lot of ways, way overplayed for many years, but should never go away. And it gets down to communication, and it gets down to sharing shared experiences. And we all know that when we're together and when we're collaborating, even right now, thanks for this
Mhm.
opportunity, Kristen. I'm learning from you, you're learning from me, and all boats rise.
I absolutely. In fact, before we move on to some of the what's possible and what's available and how to go about it, I, we didn't need one more reason, which I think some of us do, to invest in and look at what are some alternative ways. How do I support our employees? We get that age old, well, what if I invest in them and they leave? And the response is always, what if you don't and they stay? You recently published an article on a new phenomenon, and I usually hear about everything just as it's coming up. And I had heard of quiet quitting, but I had not heard of this new term that you had written on. What is that?
So quiet cracking is just the silence that happens before the quitting. And it's just it's split across the LMS, the learning management system world and the L&D world. And it's this notion that I know I'm not in the right place. I know I'm not in the right seat. I know it's not going to end well. And I'm not going to, I'm not ready to quit. I'm just gonna split, mentally, and I'm just
Mhm.
not going to be successful, and I'm gonna crack eventually. And so that was shared with me by a colleague in this industry space, and it just goes to show you that there's so much to uncover within workforce training and learning, which gets to human communication. The AI tools,
Mhm.
the personalization, customization, things that we've discussed are all available, and more will become available in weeks and months and years to come. But one thing will stay the same. We will still be sentient beings with emotions that can be uncovered by communication and using tools like Learny, like others, where we're able to create community to learn and share what I do well, what you do well. And even in our pre-interviews, learning about each other,
Mhm.
we get to know how we can all excel. And I think that notion of humanity and community should never leave businesses and hopefully will not leave businesses. One of the reasons that you asked originally, why did you, go into workforce training, workforce learning? I became a member of the B Corp community and learning as a certified B Corp. And, the B Corp mission is to just look at businesses beyond a single bottom line. It's not just profit, it's people and profit, it's planet and people and profit. It's using your business as a force for good. And I believe that we can use our businesses as a force for good, but it starts with treating our workforce the way that they need to be treated to be successful, to make kitchen table conversations better and happier and more fruitful. And maybe there's a new jean jacket in there for your teenage daughter. Um, but helping those businesses get where they need to go and help those shareholders earn money. I mean, we are capitalists in this country, and we should be. But as I like to say, I don't know if you can bleep this out. I'll bleep myself. But if you cannot learn how to be a profitable business in this day and age without blanking people over, then you're
Mhm.
lazy. And there is a way to be successful and earn money and shareholder wealth, and also take into consideration more than that single bottom line. So my interest in double and triple bottom line businesses is who I am as a human being, and
Mhm.
taking care of employees and the workforce. In an effort to do that is my passion, and using technology to do that is how we've been successful.
You just said something that clicked a number of elements, and that's the kitchen table conversation. Because I've always strongly believed that how someone is treated at work blends into their family. There is no separating the two. Someone has a bad day at work, they go down and they're either giving a bad evening to their family, they're not reacting well to what happened with their kids' grades that day, whatever it may be. And what are they sharing at the kitchen table? It is not positivity. It is not good. And I can see where that quiet cracking is. You're holding it all inside until one day you said, I'm done and I'm waiting for that day and that event, versus be asking your employees, what do you talk about at the dinner table? And giving them that education, that personalized learning. So now imagine going home and saying, guess what I learned today? And then you talk through the system. And I can imagine the kid in fifth grade who's very frustrated with doing their iReady every single night. It's a popular program going, huh, I do the same thing, Dad. I've got that. That's like, look, and learning never ends. I do it at work and I'm excited about it. And let me tell you what I learned. Imagine just that example that you're setting
No doubt.
and the
And
lives you're impacting.
yeah, and it does happen. In our house, my wife and I are both, work from home CMOs basically, and our kids get to see us have conversations like this. Luckily, no one's running in now, not home from school yet, but it should be part of that. You should be proud to talk about your workplace, and you should be proud to talk about what you learn and how you've learned and share it. We do that at home because luckily we're with organizations that look beyond a single bottom line. And for companies that invest in their employees, that invest in their workforce, that view their workforce as, I should say, that value their workforce versus viewing them as valuable, will reap the benefits of this mantra and this movement of bottom up and not top down learning.
And Carl was having this conversation recently with someone with AI. It's like AI is probably most prevalent in the HR community, from applicant tracking systems to learning and development. You've now got a new platform, Learny. I'll put that information in the show notes. How have you been able to take the current modern day workforce who wants to learn, grow, and feel supported? They want to learn. Let's give them the tools and let's do it in a way that is customizable. Because customizable used to be, I got to write 20 different training programs.
Oh my gosh.
We, and that, I'm not going to say that was the old days. That was just 3 years ago,
Yeah, exactly.
which is incredible. What's possible now that can open up our minds to being more strategic with growing our workforce? Because that workforce, if they're not growing with the company, growing with it, they're growing out of it, or the company's growing out of them.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but I would start with one phenomenon, which is that institutional knowledge in most businesses is leaving the building. And so folks who are a little bit older than me, just slightly older than me, are starting to leave the workforce in droves.
Hmm.
And they're taking with them really valuable knowledge. And folks who are 58, 62, who are leaving are not talking to 22-year-olds. You know why? They just really don't jive. And how do you capture or transfer that knowledge? Well, that's really hard to do. Technology, luckily, is one of them. And so with Learny, you are able to capture institutional knowledge before it leaves the door and keep it in that community of learning
Hmm.
place, in that learning journey place. So the 22-year-old can come along and say, boy, that guy's an old fart, Lafort, but he knows his stuff. And so I'll watch this short video because somebody's not going to possibly feed me a 22-year-old, a 15-minute video to watch. It's going to be less than 2 minutes. And then I'll watch the next one because it's short, because that's what I do all day anyway. So why would anybody try to have me do something different? That's insane. So capturing institutional knowledge, really important part. Sharing that knowledge through technology that is specific to me. Therefore, I'm only being fed things that are relevant to my job and things that I identify with or that I've opted into interest into watching. That
Hmm.
also still sounds familiar, right? So why would anybody send me a video on electrical engineering when everybody knows I really just like golden retrievers and sharks? So within the workforce, if we're doing this the right way, we're going to show peers videos from other peers in a way that is appealing to them, short video, that
Hmm.
appeals to them because it's their job and their purview. How do I get through my day better? And then AI is really driving all of these decision trees. Then, when it's all said and done and the content is in the community and we're cruising, we get to hear a quote from a customer of Learny's that we are very proud of. They're a large national insurance adjusting company, thousands of insurance adjusters that are on roofs of homes across America as we speak, doing roofing uh, insurance adjustments. And the head of L&D at one of those companies said, when I asked the question, why did you choose Learny? She said, when my guys, her words, can use an AI voice search for a short video that they need to see in the flow of work
Hmm.
and get a 1 minute video right away that fits their need in that moment before they strike that hammer or turn that cable. That's why we chose that learning. So really underneath all of that is AI driving those decisions, making sure that you're getting the contextual, appropriate information fed to you at the time you need it, at the linchpin of your learning experience. And getting back to something you said 20 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago is it's customized and it's personalized. So it matters to me. So I'm leaning in and I'm going to do better in my job.
So I just made the connection. I am a YouTube fanatic with how I learn things. It's how I pick my software programs. It's how I do anything and everything around the house. But YouTube doesn't have videos for my company. And how do I do a roof adjustment unless it's some influencer trying to make money off of their thought leadership there. So you're saying what that does is it gives them the tool and the resources to be able to create their own YouTube channel
Right.
internal for their company.
That's 100% correct. And then, unlike YouTube, where you have to kind of like
Yeah, a
digitally
lot of
scroll up
things.
to find out where you were to figure
Mhm.
out how to relight your hot water heater, a learning is a made-up word that is comprised of learning bursts. So we actually don't allow any learning within our system to be more than 30 seconds. So everything we do is step by step by step by step by step. And we believe, well, we have instructional designers with PhDs
Mhm.
on our team that can prove that that beat, that break after 30 seconds gives your brain the time that it needs to process the information it was given, even if it means continue. I got it. Let's move on. But without that, and I'm a minute 30 in, what was that a minute ago? But just 30-second beats is the cadence. that you need. It's microlearning, and microlearning has kind of proven
Okay.
out to be successful. So, learning is where social learning, we've been talking about it during this entire
Mm-hmm.
podcast, meets microlearning. And that is the special sauce. And that's what we call community microlearning. So community microlearning is that where social learning is combined with burst learning so that I can be really leaned in, really tuned in, not overloaded, and choosing my path forward, choosing whether I want to continue or not. And then a cool little add-on to the app, getting back to AI, is we have
Mm-hmm.
AI quizzes that are generated. We have these little cognitive breaks and bursts in between each one of the learning bursts, a quiz, a poll, a multiple choice, to just, again, keep people kind of leaned in and keep folks who are comfortable with learning on YouTube um, dialed in.
It's fascinating to understand what you built it on and some of those principles that are scientifically proven. So, whether it's your platform, whether it is just some internal something initially, do not make those 30, 60-minute training videos with someone at a whiteboard. And then it's even if you're putting the closed captions on and they can read while they're doing it, you're saying small.
Yes.
Two
How about
minutes. If you're doing 2 minutes, break it into 30 seconds
that's right.
clips. And a lot of the video editing will allow you to do that now. There's that you really hit on that institutional knowledge transfer. And I think that over the next 5 years, that's going to be, I think that's the biggest nightmare that's keeping HR up at night is 4 million people hitting the age of 65 each year over the next 4 years.
Holy mackerel. Yeah, no doubt about
4 million a year.
it.
Not only how do we replace those individuals in the workforce, how do we retain that knowledge
Yeah.
and apply it to the next generation to do as they need to or choose?
That's right. And AI will replace a lot of that need, will fill a lot of those gaps. But AI will be used as a tool for
Mhm.
the new workforce to utilize. And that contextual relevance of that institutional knowledge within situations is where the human will have to parse the applicability of that information. And so, luckily, we will still need us, warm-blooded, sentient beings, to parse the information and apply it and figure out where it's appropriate. And our brains can only handle so much at a time. So, here's a fact. Google search is waning on a daily basis as we all are witnessing. We are choosing Perplexity and Grok and ChatGPT and these large language models to pull down information that we're looking for. Why? Because they create these neat and tidy results.
Quick. Yep.
One, two, three. Is it 40 pages of Google search results? It is not. It is one tidy response with these tidy answers. How was that? Would you like more? Yes, I would like more. Not, here's everything from the Library of Congress and every tinfoil hat person in the United States and all of their responses. Good luck sifting through that. No, it's here's what we deem as relevant. How do you like it? Would you like more? Yes, I would like more. Generate more. So that even that is personalized and customized and chunked, chunk learning, nudge learning, micro learning. So it's the what's the expression that is out of the bottle? The cork is out of the bottle. It's clear that we are being overloaded every day and that we like to see things in nice tidy chunks and choose whether we want to
Mhm.
choose our own adventure, whether it be at
And
work or at home.
it just goes back to those books we read back. I'm about to date us back in grade school, where you get to the end and say, does this happen or does that happen? And you get to choose, okay, jump to chapter 8. Nope, that one jump to chapter 6. And you get
Right.
to choose that way. I think that's all coming full circle. I used to love those. Michael, if you could give one piece of advice to companies really trying to better support and grow their employees, it goes employee engagement. You can go research and listen to hundreds of hours. It comes down to, do they feel supported and do they have the tools to be successful? You
No
mentioned
doubt.
successful. If you were to give one piece of advice at varying degrees of where they're at in that process or that journey, what would be one or two things to take away from this?
Well, thanks again for the chance to meet with you and speak with you about this. It's so important. And it's important, as we said, for the kitchen table, for the families, for the tax base of our communities, dare I say, for our success as a country. Uh, and so all of this is like really important personally, micro and macro level. To a business that's wondering whether or not they're supporting their workforce properly, I would ask them, and I would suggest the same thing that we do every time we have a meeting with a potential customer at Learning. We say, how are you training your employees now, and how successful do you feel it is going? How successful is it? And 9.999 out of 10 times, obviously, if they're meeting with us, but they're saying, well, we have a system and no one's using it. That's number one.
That's, yep,
Number two
those are
is
great.
we have a lot of shadowing and personal one-on-one time, and it's successful, but boy, does it take a lot of time and is it draining, or we're adrift. And so I think the first piece of advice is analyze how your onboarding is going, how your employees are doing, and are they progressing? And what are you doing to measure their progress? Because you can very quickly put into place systems and solutions which will bring a learning ecosystem to the organization where folks from all over the organization are contributing these short videos. Learning is short videos created by peers on demand. And while it is a user generated content platform, it is user generated context. Because if I'm in a big organization, do I want to see a nameless, faceless person on a white scrim background in some sound stage somewhere in Canada saying, hello, today we're going to talk about security at your firm? No. You want to see somebody say, hi, I'm Kristen. I've been here at the company for about 6 years, and we're going to talk about cybersecurity, why it's so important to our company. Oh, that's context. I recognize that person. So my favorite politician of all time was Tip O'Neill. He was a Boston Democrat from South Boston. My mom and dad are from South Boston. And his phrase was all politics is local. And what that means is we identify with our own people. So why not have our own people training our own people in a way that is modern, that is customized, that is short, that is
Hmm.
social, that is a similar behavior to that which we do all day, and something that I can even share with my kids at the dinner table. Check out what I do. So, the question to answer your long-winded answer to your question is assess and analyze honestly how successful your practices are and whether or not your workforce is really feeling supported with tools that resonate with them. And chances are they are not.
I'm going to do a final plug and an insert in there, having worked with hundreds of companies, is sit down and first define what is success in our company and dig deep and question each other and challenge each other on what is success when it comes to either supporting or training and developing our employees, because not every company is going to measure that the same way. And it needs to be aligned with where that company wants to be and how they're aligning the workforce to it. Michael, thank you so much. And thanks for joining us on Serious Leadership. If today sparked a new idea or gave you something to take action on, don't let it sit. Share it, use it, keep it growing. And until next time, lead with clarity and confidence. Until next time, Michael, thank you.